One's all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book Ties That Bind, no other than Mr. Brent Antonson.
Thank you, Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Brent, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I grew up pretty much traveling a lot. I was in the when I was 5 years old, and subsequent trips with my parents through the years got me to a number of different countries. When I was 21, a friend and I drove, being Canadian, drove all of the lower 48 states. Sleeping in my car, and washing windows. Just had the full American experience for 2.5 months, driving 24,000 kilometers. A few years after that, I ended up in Estonia, working with missionaries, driving them around the country, and I decided that I really wanted to go back and to somewhere, and I wanted to teach English, which is, if you want to work abroad, a lot of people pick up English TESOL to teach in the country of their choice. I chose to go back to Russia in 2001 to teach at the Institute of Law and Economics, and then I moved on and worked at the State University of the Russian Federation. I had an incredible year. It ended rather horribly, but I had an incredible year. And in the interim, my father and brother and I, every 3 years, starting in 1997, every 3 years, we took a major train trip. And after 5 trips, which took 12 years for us to take, uh, we ended up circumnavigating the Northern Hemisphere by rail. And that became Ties That Bind, my book.
Well, Mr. Brand, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. What does the phrase ties that bind mean in the context of your book?
Uh, it's a biblical reference. I think it's used 2 or 3 times in the Bible. Uh, it meant that at the age, I guess I was 27 when we started these trips, that I was sort of inextricably linked with my father and brother in terms of, well, the first trip that we took was from Moscow to Beijing, 9 days on the Trans Siberian Railway. This was in 1997. It was before there was any Wi-Fi or any phones or any laptops. We ended up staying in, I believe it's 10 by 10 by 8 room for 9 days with each other, and Ties That Bind became the way to symbolize that the three of us were functioning together, and that we were family, and that we made it through. And we made it through subsequent trips too, which we didn't know if we would, but we did. So Ties That Bind became the title for it.
Interesting indeed. Mr. Brand, is the story based on real life experiences or people?
Absolutely, the book is true to form. It's we we went the fourth trip. We went into North Korea for a week. And so, because some of these areas were hard to get to, or impossible for some people, we ended up it. Kept journals and diaries, wrote essays and stuff throughout the trips, and it had to be 100% authentic.
Definitely. Definitely agree with you, Mr. Brand. Family loyalty are strong themes. Why did you choose to focus on them?
Because we really traveled well together. We've all done separate trips on our own, but we really worked well together. And in a lot of places where you would have to watch other people's stuff, you'd have to watch other people. You'd have to be aware of. When we got onto the Trans-Siberian Railway, there were six British nationals who had been working in Dubai at an oil company for 5 years, and they saved up all six of them to take the Trans-Siberian Railway. 2 hours after we left Moscow, one of the purses was stolen from a woman. She just turned her head for 2 seconds, and all the passports were gone. All the money was gone. And so we really had to be aware and conscious of the 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 epidemic of crimes that happen in many of these countries, and have an eye out for each other. So family was family was all that mattered.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Brad, which or which character do you relate the most and why?
Which character? Sorry, which?
Yes, which character in the book do you relate the most and why?
Well, it's me. It's told from a first person perspective. My dad is Dad, capital D, Dad, and my brother is Sean. So I was the one. I was the one who keeping notes to write for a future book. We didn't know at the beginning. We didn't plan on it. We just realized that after going 9,001 kilometers on the Trans-Siberian Railway, that we could actually work with each other, and we had each other's backs. And then we did the second trip was across Canada from coast to coast, and then the third was from New York to San Francisco. Fourth was China and North Korea, and the fifth one, my brother realized that if we went from Moscow to London, we would have circumnavigated the world by rail.
Wow. Congratulations for that, Mr. Brand.
Thank you.
And you're most welcome. What message or feeling do you hope readers take away from the book?
The world is largely safe. It's accessible, and even things like North Korea, which can take a long time to get safe passage through. We took the train from Beijing into Pyongyang, North Korea. We weren't allowed to take the train, but we pushed and pushed and pushed. Otherwise, we didn't want to do it. We ended up taking the train, which was fascinating. These things are out there, and I hope that people know. I think I tallied it up about 2 or 3 years ago, but you could fly from, say, any place in North America. I'll use Vancouver to Moscow, stopping in England, and then taking the Trans-Siberian Railway, 9,001 kilometers to Beijing, and flying home. You can do it, depending on which how extravagant you want to get, between $5,000 and $7,000. And this is a dream trip that most train lovers, most travelers want to do, is the Trans-Siberian Railway. And it is accessible. It is not that expensive. Our money goes very, very far in Russia.
Well, thank you for sharing to the world, Mr. Brand. How long did it take you to complete Ties That Bind?
23 years.
Why is
12 years to
that?
take the trips. 12 years to take the
Okay.
trips. So the writing happened in between it. As well,
Yes.
I went and taught in English, or taught English in a city in Russia for a year. And I wrote a book called Of Russia about that time that I was there. So that occupied 6 years of writing time in the middle of that.
Did the story or its ending change as you were writing it?
Uh, Yes, because we did. When I first wrote the Trans Siberian Railway, it was a standalone book, and I called it Moscow Plus Seven because the train leaves Moscow, and as you're going, the Moscow Plus One, the time zones, Moscow Plus Two, Moscow Plus Three, until you get to Beijing, Moscow Plus Seven, and the train has this little ego orbit. as you're on the train, the time doesn't change. So the sun will start going down at 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, and it's a bizarre way to 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 see the transition of time and space. And so the book didn't have an ending until we realized that we were going to take the train from. We would have circumnavigated the world once we'd done that final trip, which was very interesting because we went through Ukraine and we went through Belarus. Belarus is the only dictatorship in Europe. It is worse than, and having been to both North Korea and Belarus, Belarus is a far worse country to be under in an active sense than North Korea.
Mhm. Well, thank you for that info, Mr. Brand. Did or how do setting in the book reflect the theme of connection and loyalty?
Loyalty to whomever has your back and has your stuff and is watching your stuff where you go to the bathroom, you use the phone, whatever is paramount. There's a lot of people I realized that I couldn't travel with um, because we had to be so on our guard. And thankfully, that episode where the woman lost all the passports and money, nothing like that ever happened to us. It was safe. It was just anecdotal hearing about the other people's horror stories, but the world is largely safe if you've got your eyes open. So loyalty to whomever I'm traveling with, and so your other point was character, or was it?
Mr. Brand, what are the particular scene that was especially emotional for you to write?
It was strange. We ended up in two forest fires in the middle. Well, they were days apart, nights apart. We were in forest fires where the train slammed on its brakes in the middle of Siberia, and on both sides of the train are these this forest fire that is just the length of the train. It is massive. It is not being put out, and you can feel the heat through the windows. And it was probably the only time that I was scared was both of those times that we ended up with the train stopped and we didn't know whether we were going backwards or forwards. It was an astonishing visual, and to capture that and try and translate that uh, into language that people would understand. Yeah, that was difficult.
Are there any hidden messages or deeper meaning woven in the story?
There are relational ones that count back to my. I've been studying Russian for over 20 years now. I'm not great, but I can work with it. So the hidden messages. There's a lot of not lots, but there are references to me teaching, to me uh, sort of growing up in my own skin as a pseudo Russian. I really loved teaching and being as Russian as I could be. Yeah, I think it's a fair characterization.
Awesome. So, Mr. Brand, what will be your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
Well, right now I am publishing 2 to 5 papers, essays, articles a day. I work for a media outlet as a writer, and I also publish on LinkedIn and X. And I love writing science and mathematics articles
Good
and
luck to your
travel.
goals. Yes, for sure. Travel, travel, travel. So, good luck to your goals, Mr. Brand. And what would be your advice for people out there who want to start their own journey in writing?
Do it. Find the audience you want to write for. Write for that audience, especially if it's just one person. Write with them in mind. It's you get told that when you start writing, but you actually have to focus, just like a speaker does on stage, and they tell you to look at three people for 5 seconds each, make eye contact. This is what you do when you're writing, is that you want to connect with that person. Maybe they've never traveled, they've never been to Russia, they don't know a lot about Russia. So introducing things like the economic scene, the scenery, the landscape of say the FSB, the police, the KGB, um, right for the people that you can best mount your attack towards. And I think that's something that I do every time that I pick up a pen or start tapping on my keyboard. I always have that person in mind, and that person that I want to explain something to, and I want to infuse the travel bug into them. Yeah, I really, uh, I really think that that's one of the most important things, is knowing who your audience is, even if it's just a figment of your imagination, what they know, what they don't know, how much you want to tell, and what you tell.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Brand. If you can spend a day with one of your characters, who would it be and why?
Well, fortunately, I do get to spend time with my dad and brother. They live in different places, but um, we have such a strong connection with these trips and travels that we've done. And I love spending the time with my dad. Now, I turn 56 next week, and it's a lot of people through the years that we've met have do not have this connection with their family, and certainly not with their dad and brother. And to be locked in a small compartment is out of the reach of most people's capabilities. And so I would spend time with my dad.
That's awesome, Mr. Brand. How have readers reacted to the family or relationship dynamics you portray?
Uh, a lot of the people know all three of us. So the feedback that I've gotten is it's really neat to see your dad, really neat to see the way that you characterize your brother and dad. They're not angels. We do some things that maybe in hindsight we wouldn't have. I mean, in 1997 there were no cameras, there were no computers in Russia. Everything was on ledger books, even until as far as to 2009 when I went back to Russia, um, and 2014. Computers and stuff are held back in some countries. They don't have access to the 21st century. Not everywhere. You might have to go to the library to borrow a computer, or to a private company to borrow to write home. So yeah, I would have to say that.
Mr. Brad, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, People Fifth Season, with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen, Food 101, wherever you listen your podcasts. Mr. Brand, are you planning a sequel or another book exploring similar themes?
Uh, I am actually re-releasing my book of Russia, which was published in 2008, next week. Of Russia, A Year Inside, and I'll just because I'm very proud of that book, because it captured Russia at a time between the end of the Soviet Union and before capitalism decimated or ruined everything. Uh, and I caught Russia at a very transitional time. It was fascinating. However, I did get arrested and had a terrible, terrible time. Uh, I was arrested as a spy for spying, for developing too much film at once. Um, so with my writing stuff, it's the reissue of this book. That's what I'm
Good
focused on right
luck.
now.
Good luck to your upcoming book, Mr. Brand, and you please come back and let's talk about it. So, Mr. Brand Anderson, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, Ties That Bind?
Uh, Everybody, if you're in your fifth year, I am so happy and proud of you, and I'm happy to be here for that. Thank you very much.
Thank,
So everybody, book 101.
yes, thank you so much. So, where do you usually buy your book, Mr. Brand?
Indigo or chapters, or,
Yes,
Amazon online.
wherever books are sold. People, let's support Mr. Brand because if you support him, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Brand, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.
Bye bye.
You're most